So let's face it, posterior shoulder instability absolutely sucks if you're trying to do bench press on it. You feel like your shoulder's gonna pop out of place perhaps, you feel just something's not right, especially at that end part of the lift. I'm gonna show you guys one simple trick you can do to ensure that you can continue to do this safely and not have to drop your weight excessively to the point where you're only lifting a small amount. So listen up. And first and foremost, please subscribe to RyleyRehab. Every single week coming up with new content, helping you with questions like this, and ultimately helping you become the expert of your own body. So for those of you who don't know, I'm just gonna go over the basics of posterior shoulder instability. You have a ball and socket joint right here, and whenever you move your arm, that ball is actually moving in multiple directions. So one example is when you do a bench press, you're basically moving your arm like this. But what's actually going on is deeper down in the shoulder, this ball right here actually goes backwards. I'm going to exaggerate the motion a bit, but it actually goes backwards in this direction as you do the press. So a normal amount of that is totally fine. However, it can become a problem known as posterior shoulder instability. And this is where people will feel this thing shift back, sometimes even to the point where it pops out of place. And this makes it tough for any kind of chest exercise because anytime you got to go forward, whether it be doing flies, bench press, any of those kind of things, even push-ups, it can be a problem. So the best way to resolve this is to actually take a band. It can be a TheraBand, but I usually prefer the chin-up, assisted chin-up bands for these because they have a little bit of force. But find something that works for you. And you're going to take this band and start off by putting it inside the opposite shoulder of the one that's affected. Let's say my left shoulder is the one with the posterior instability. I'm going to put it there. And at that point, I am going to take it and I'm going to twist it as much as I possibly can. If you're using a TheraBand that doesn't have two pieces together, you don't need to do this step. The reason you twist it is so you get one point where it puts the pressure on the back of the shoulder, and I'll explain what that means later. Once you got it twisted, it should look nice and twizzlery right there. So it's all kind of binded together. And then you're gonna take it, pull it behind the back, get it right across the back while maintaining that twist, and then pull it across basically underneath your armpits for now. You're then gonna take it and kind of put it over top of your forearm, over top of the back of your hand basically. And then you can use this loop to kind of put it on the hand. So basically from here all the way around the back, coming up the armpit right there, over top of the forearm, and then eventually in your hand like that. The last part, and this is probably the most important step, is you need to make sure that you put this on the pressure where you feel that shoulder popping out of place. The best way I can explain where that is if you feel the ridge of your shoulder right here, you should feel a bony bit known as the spine of the scapula. And then lower down, you'll see the crease of your armpit, which in my case is right around here. This might be easier to see with your shirt off when you're in a mirror on this, but basically you want to have it in between that spine of the scapula, the bony part of your shoulder, and the crease of your armpit. So you kind of fish this up right around here in that area. The closer you get it in the armpit, the better. Now the whole point of this is that when you're bench pressing, you're going to be able to have something basically giving you a bit of a push in that back area. Now when you're standing up like this, you might feel it kind of wobble, but it's much easier when you're on your back because you'll have a firm area that kind of keeps that pressure right there. And basically when you get to that end of range, when you do feel like something's going to jolt out, you actually have this thing here that has more tension as you push on it and can hold it in better place. Before I get to the demo, one quick thing I want to show you guys is if you find this is too long and you're not getting enough tension, a simple solution to that is just to tie a basic knot. So just tie a knot the way you would any knot. You just kind of roll it around, you pull it through, and then just like that right there. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just enough to add a little more. And then instead of grabbing on the lasso at the very top, you're going to do the exact same thing with your forearm. but instead you're going to grab the loop right under. And then you have more tension and you don't have to squeeze onto it very awkwardly. Now the setup's half the battle. As long as you got those first steps down, the rest should be pretty easy. When you're actually bench pressing, you do want to make sure it's in that point, basically right. It should kind of feel like it's riding up in your armpit there when you're setting it up. And then you hold on to the weights. I apologize for lifting such obnoxiously heavy weights here, guys. I know I feel like I'm showing off, but this is all we have in our studio right now. Basically, all you're going to do when you bench press is just do the exact same thing, but then try to keep that band right in that spot. If you feel like you're not getting enough pressure, tie a tighter knot, but you should feel like it just gives you a bit of a boost back there in that area where it really matters. This will help you get a few more reps in or be able to lift the weights you used to lift before you had this problem. I will say though, that you may actually want to try to address this problem without using this at some points. But if you do want to be able to keep your strength in your chest, your triceps, and all those areas without having to sacrifice things and lift weights like these all the time, I do recommend having this on as an assistance. It's kind of similar to having a back brace on when you're deadlifting if you have any instabilities in the spine. Give this a try. Let me know what you think. Now lastly, one quick disclaimer I did want to mention. If you are one of those people who's fully dislocating their shoulder, who's in a ton of pain, has tons of other problems with the shoulder, or even if you pop it out of place to the point where you can't even do this without it causing you a ton of problems, I do not recommend you trying this. I actually recommend you finding a physio or somebody who's specialized in rehab to help you gradually work your way back to this. Not saying you can in the long run, but you do want to be very careful because posterior instability ranges from the spectrum from something very minor where you only feel it on a really heavy, difficult lift, all the way to people that are popping out their shoulder and can't even lift their arm up normally without any weight. But if you are one of those people who just finds you need this for an extra boost, I really found it helpful for myself and I'm sure it'll be helpful for you.